you're going to have those moments where you doubt yourself, where you don't feel adequate and stuff. And so, unfortunately, I feel like we've bought into this idea that we all have a truth, which is like it's kind of true, but at the end of the day, it's not about like her truth, my truth, his truth, your truth. It's the truth, right?
Yeah.
That is what God says. And so, like, whenever you're feeling, any of those things, run back to the truth. It's not
Yeah.
your truth because sometimes your truth might be lying to you, right?
Yeah.
You've
It's true.
forgotten that you have a God has a covenant with your ancestors that he can't break. It's serious. When you understand it, you're like, it gives you confidence. It gives you conviction that a lot of us are missing. You need to go see that for yourself and be like, wow, like, yeah, this is actually promised to me. All I need to do is go up and get it. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already mine.
Welcome to the Brand Bridge, the podcast for purpose-driven women entrepreneurs who are ready to build a personal brand with structure, without compromise. My name is Melissa, and today I have the beautiful, wonderful Alicia.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on too. We had a chat like a couple weeks ago. Well, we met recently. We
Yeah.
had an amazing chat,
Hmm.
and I was like, you know what? You have to come on. You have to come on the show. So welcome, welcome.
Yes.
Um, and so yeah, speaking of which, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about you and what you do?
Okay, for sure. So my name is Alicia. As you know, I am a mom. I was born in Canada, but I lived much of my life in the US. So a lot of times when I was in Canada, when I was in the States, I would feel like a very much Canadian girl. And then when I'm back home in Canada, I feel more like American girl, which is kind of funny. But that's kind of like the story of my life. I'm always someone that is like stands out, but not even really wanting to stand out. Just somebody that people, I guess, are naturally drawn to, and I guess just like kind of have like that leader spirit, right? And I have call myself kind of like a rebel with a cause because like I'm very much kind of sometimes go against the grain, do my own thing, not really worried about what other people are thinking, right? And that's just very much who I am. But I got into business for myself 4 years ago, really when I was working not my 9 to 5, I would say my 6 to 6. And I was a mother at the time, a single mother, and it was just really difficult to do. I couldn't see myself doing long term, working that long and then just having like an hour or two spent with my son. It's just not the life that I wanted, and I know it's not the life that God designed for me.
Mm,
And so I started investing in myself and learning skills, right? That's where I can build something online. And over time, after 2 years of, doing it alongside my job, I was able to fully transition out and build enough for myself to get into it full time and put my full focus into it. And so now I am full time building my digital business in travel and lifestyle. I also mentor and help other women to build flexible income from home without having to compromise their lifestyle or values. I'm really big on building a life that your work can fit into. I think work life balance is kind of a facade, right? You have to make it work. And too many of us are having to fit our life around our work. And especially as women, I don't think we were designed to do that. That's not how God made us. But, with the ways of the world, we do have to or want to bring in some type of income or we want to contribute in some type of way, right? And so I think that it's really cool that we have this blessing. It's just important that we use it in the right way. And so That's what I have been doing the last 4 years. At the beginning of this year, I started a podcast called Holy Not Harmless, for bold faith and real conversations. Just really about my journey and really diving into the Bible and kind of my journey. Business is very much spiritual, and most of the manifestations of success, all of them, come from the Bible. And so going into that myself and kind of sharing that with other women, and kind of just showing people that it's really important to go on your own and find your own answers, because God has different answers for every single person inside the Bible, whether you're a man or a woman. I know sometimes there's some stigmas on, women and just being bold and being leaders, and kind of our place with religions and stuff. And so I kind of want to like challenge that and call us to rise higher. I think right now is a time where God needs women to be more bold in their faith and really step into their power. Right now, we have opportunity to do so with the internet and with social media. And so, yes, that is about me and my journey.
Wow, what an intro.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. It's so good. I mean, wow, you touched on so many things, so many like important key things. And so I want to just take a step back a little bit
Yeah.
because I know like there's so many women who when we start a family, when we have our kids, it's like all of a sudden,
Hmm.
it obviously like the priority is like, oh wait, let me take stock of my life and what's actually happening and what I have the capacity for and what I just feel called to do. And so usually it's like, yeah, when your kids are young, especially, you want to
Hmm.
be there for them. And so, like growing up, did you know or did you feel like you ever wanted to be an entrepreneur? Was that ever on the table? Or did you ever, or were you just like corporate 9 to 5, I'm just gonna do the normal
Yeah.
route, normal thing?
Yeah, no, I never really wanted to do the normal thing. I don't think I really had like a long-term job for a long time, right? I tried to do other things just because I just could never fit into that type of schedule. And honestly, the energy that I would feel in some of the places, I'm big on energy. And I notice, people's spirits are down. Their mindset is low. They don't have a lot of like any like things going on really beyond work. And that's sad to see for me. I can feel that a lot. And like I'm someone that is like big on energy. And so it affects me. I'm like a positive
Mm,
person. And so that, along with some of the things that I know happen within the workplace that I just don't appreciate, and I don't ever want to feel stuck,
mm,
because I have to make a paycheck, right? To sacrifice my values or things that I don't believe in, or have to be quiet when someone does something wrong to me because I'm afraid I'm going to lose my role. So it
mm,
never really felt like very super safe to me.
mm.
Didn't Doesn't mean I didn't know I was gonna be an entrepreneur, but very much, no, I wasn't gonna do that. It's very hard for me to just wake up and think about doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over, with no fulfillment.
Yeah, well, it's so funny because you said, like, you didn't feel safe, and most people feel like corporate's the most safe place in the sense of that consistent, like, yeah, you're doing the same thing all the time, but like that consistent, paycheck, that consistent expectation of I go, I do my thing, and I leave. But when you're creative and when you know you carry so many things, yeah, it probably feels like this is not like you said, you couldn't put your finger on it of the word entrepreneurship maybe at the time, but you just
Yeah.
knew like, "Nah, like, this ain't it."
Yeah, and I think a lot of us also have been sold a bit of a facade, right? That there's kind
Yeah,
of like a safer way out. And,
yeah,
it's human nature for us to naturally want to go the path with less friction, right? That's just our nature. And so, yeah, when you think about it, how it's been packaged up and stuff, go to school, get the degree, get the job, work with them for this long and then retire. That seems like the safer way because that's what most people have done for now, right? But I think after, COVID happened and stuff like that, and remote work started becoming a thing, things have changed, right? And it's not the same anymore.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you're touching on something I've been just thinking about and talking out loud to whoever will hear me,
Yeah.
um, about, which is this idea of this system of the world that's been created that we all kind of just are like, yeah, okay, I guess we'll all just go this way and do this thing. But really what we have on our heart to do and what God even calls us to do is is completely different. And the same like you, I was speaking with someone recently who left corporate, who is a photographer, and I just like almost got emotional because I saw that he was actually doing
Mhm.
what he had on his heart and like his gift. He was using his gifts, he was
Yeah.
using his talents, and he felt the difference too. Like you're saying, he just felt free because he was actually operating in the gift that he has. And so I think that, like, to your point, we don't think about this enough,
Mhm.
that not everyone needs to be a doctor and a lawyer, um, or work in corporate, but we actually have something that gives something pure to other people, which
Yeah.
is like, community, being together, sharing, so important. So I love that you're talking about this because I think it's not talked about enough, and we really need
Mhm.
to talk about it more, I
Yeah.
think.
For
Um,
sure, and especially if you're a believer, you have to know, like, God's calling on your life is always gonna be far beyond your capabilities. So if you're somewhere where you're playing it safe, you're not giving God even a chance to operate in your life at all, He says, "In your weakness, that is where I'm strong." So if you're always strong and you're always just used to doing the things, or you're even like, big boss at work, where
yeah,
is the room for God to step in, right? And so
yeah,
I think a lot of us, think that way too, but you made it a great point, and also our vision of what success looks like has been, you know,
yeah,
it's been molded into us since every single ad, every single commercial,
yeah,
is in our brain on what we think success should look like. But like you said, like it's about feeling free and what you do, because when you feel good about the work that you're doing, you're going to be more diligent. You're not going to have to put an alarm on and drag yourself there and get
yeah,
into this mindset. No, you wanna do it. You're inspired. When we're connected to something which, like, is higher than us, which is God, that keeps you inspired. So you don't have to find motivation, which expires, right? You will stay inspired because you're connected to something beyond you. And so I think, that is, like, the challenge of, like, real faith, right? Do you have enough faith to step out of your identity, and how attached we are today to our roles? A lot of us mesh the two and think we are our roles when in
yeah,
fact we're not, right? And like giving God the space to actually like work in our life and be afraid and do something different, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good. I like that you said be free because I was just thinking as you're speaking, I was like, just seeing that there's so much fear, right?
Yeah.
Like, and when you don't know that you are like when you don't know what your true identity is as a child of God, it's
Mhm.
like you said you make your labels your identity,
Yeah.
because that's safer.
Yeah.
Because of fear, it's like I know this thing, but I don't know that thing.
Yeah.
And we want the control, perceived
Yeah.
control, like all of these things, but it's like, man, if you just let go actually and surrender what you even think it
Yeah.
should be, wow, you would see so much. But yeah, there's so much fear there.
Yeah,
There's
what really changed a lot for me was, did you watch that show, David, Son of David on
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. No.
Oh, well, it's good, and if anyone's listening, if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go watch it. There's 2 seasons now, and it's one of the best series I've ever watched. And if you watch it, it's the story obviously of David and Goliath, and you see like David's full story and how, he was just like some regular guy, small boy, that was called to be like the king, and what he was up against, and when he was going to fight the giant, like how many people were like, no, like, there was men, armies waiting for days, like days they didn't want to fight this giant, and he was like, "You guys are waiting for days? Like, I'll do it." And then they're like, "No, no." And everyone is like trying to stop him from doing it, but he is like, he knows, he remembers like always what God said,
Oh,
and like he knows so much like that God cannot lie. So, like, if I stand on these words, like, there's no way that I can lose, And he says one thing that always sticks with me, and he's like, this his brother or something is like, I fear God is not with us in this moment. He's like, you're right. God is not here with us down where we cower. God is with us when we rise up and we face our fears. And I was like, oh, that always, like, brings me chills, and, just, like, I feel like even I gotta go watch that seasons again because it just gave me so much, like, like,
yeah.
just so much, like, belief, and, if you can take it off yourself too, it's so much more freeing, right? Because you
Yeah.
realize, like, we are so limited in our abilities, right? And God actually never called you to strive and be good at everything. Like, he called you to do something that's simply that you're already good at. Like, you have a
Yeah.
gift and an ability to do very well. So, it's not like he wants you to be like, you know, working hard. It's more about working with what you've got and doing it to the best of your abilities, right? Today, we
Yeah.
think we need to add, we got to go get a diploma. We got to add a coach. We need a website. We need all these things. But really, it's about what you already have? Have you like already like worked on your skills? Have you already like worked on your mindset? Have you worked on your relationships, before you want to go and add all these external things, because we always forget that we get what we attract, like who we are, right? From the inside.
Yeah.
We think that we can chase things and add things and it will make us, but unless you become it, it's never going to truly attract you, or you're always going to be chasing it. And do you really want success that you always have to chase and feels like it's always getting away from you, or like it's never enough? Or do you want success that feels good, that feels fulfilling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing. We do things that don't make us feel fulfilled.
Mhm.
But going back to what you said before, it's like this is the agreement that we've made with the world that is you don't need to feel fulfilled. You just need to
Yeah.
go into your job and get some
Pay the
money,
bills.
pay the bills, and that's good. That's success.
Yeah, yeah,
But where is the and I think we're seeing it so much more
yeah.
why people are just kind of stepping up and taking those steps of faith because it's like, no, I feel like I'm being called forward and higher and there's
Mhm.
something there. I'm not sure, but the ones who are bold and who are just willing to take that chance, man, it's like such a big difference. Going back to my friend too, it's like he's flying in his business now because he just was like, I don't know what this is, but I'm going. I'm
Yeah,
going. I'm gonna try. And
that's it.
there's no failure. I'll either fly or I'll learn.
Yeah.
And I think that that's such an important thing for us to remember is that, like you said, we're whatever you internally believe, that's
Mm.
being manifested externally, and
Mhm.
that's shaping our reality of what we believe about ourselves, about people, about the world. It's all kind of shaping this internal narrative
Yeah,
and our stories being played out based on whatever we believe and
yeah,
whatever fear, whatever doubt, it's shaping it day by day. But it can always be changed. Your story can always change and it can change like that.
yeah, yeah, totally, I agree, and I think that's, like, a big reason why we see so much burnout today, like, burnout is, like,
Yeah.
the new kind of thing, right, that it seems like people are getting from working too hard, but it's like,
Yeah.
we've been working hard, I think we worked
Yeah.
harder before.
Yeah.
Now, so it's not that, it's working too much outside of your identity. Even if you look at, like, Jesus when he came to earth, there was a time in the Bible where, like, these brothers were fighting and they wanted him to, like, settle up the inheritance from their father, and he's like, I'm not an arbiter. I'm not this. Like, I'm
Yeah.
here for the poor and the sick. That's my mission. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna, like, do all these things, That's what we feel like we have to do today, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. No, you don't. You have to just be good at doing that one thing, like your
Yeah.
purpose, and finding a way to utilize it. You can utilize it either, for not good or for good, right? I was listening to a book called Multiply Your God-Given Ability, talents. And, in the book, he says, we all have these talents, but it's really up to us what we decide to use it for. The gift is still there or whether you decide to use it for bad or if you decide to use it for the kingdom. So it's our choice. And, obviously, like I said, one way is going to be more draining, doesn't have like the best ending, right? And one
Yeah.
way is something that's abundant and something that's a richer quality of life.
Yeah. That's so good. Yeah, that's so good. Wow, what wasn't expecting
I
this
know.
term, but it's such an important one, I think, and I think it's the one we're supposed to be having because
Yes.
I think that it's not talked like I said before, it's not talked about enough, these things, that your life is shaped by you and it doesn't have to look however we think it should be, like you said, like go to school and you do
Yeah.
this and then you do that. And so many people equate that to success or having a lot of money or having a lot of things, but not realizing that abundance is not, it could be a financial one too, but like peace,
Yeah.
like love,
Yeah.
um, like not work, like waking up and you don't feel stressed, you don't feel worried. Like
Yeah.
those are real things that you can have. And
Mm.
it's like we don't realize it. We feel like the stress makes us human. The
Yeah.
burnout means like we're doing stuff, but
Yeah.
it's not the case. Um,
So
I
true.
want to talk about your journey a little bit more. And what is something that, like, you specifically, like, or one thing, I know there's many things, but what's one thing that kind of stands out for you in terms of like something that you learned, like from when you first started, up until now? Like, what's one thing that you just realized that, oh, yeah, this was a lesson for me?
Well, one lesson I would say is, sometimes we think getting into business for ourselves is suddenly going to be like this freedom, you know, thing, right? Or, we're just going to be able to have such time control. I mean, and touch time freedom and all these things, but when you get into it, it's honestly, it's still work, right? And it's
Yeah.
still hard work. And it's really even about being more organized, even in a sense, than you probably
Yeah.
were in the workplace, because you have to be more intentional with your time. You have to get stuff done on your own. And so, knowing that, but also knowing that I can only do so much, right?
Yeah.
Understanding what I can control and what I can do, and focusing only on that and letting go of everything else, because we stress ourselves out and we like just kind of like tarnish our identity when we get maybe some no's, or some people are don't support us in our business and stuff like that, but it really has nothing to do with you or them. All
Yeah.
that means is like you weren't meant to work with that person, and that's
Yeah.
it. And that's good, right? So, be diligent in the work. I would say the biggest lesson is be diligent in the work that you have. It's really about like the small things over and over. It's not about trying to like do these crazy things all the time, right? Like do your
Yeah.
part and then let God work too, right? If you want
Mm,
to work for the kingdom, you have to stop striving so much and stop being like, I have to make this happen. More like, you know what? I showed up today, I did what I needed to do. God willing, every blessings are going to fall where they need to fall. And that's it, right? And
mm,
that's the biggest thing for me, learning how to unlearn the way that the world has taught me to work, which is performance is who I am, how much money I make is whether I'm doing good in life and if I'm a valuable person, all those things, right? But it's different when you're working, and you want God's favor on your work and blessing on what you're doing, right?
yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. In entrepreneurship, especially when you're coming out of corporate, like
Yeah.
you mentioned, it's like you go from. I heard someone say it like this, and it's so true. You go from being a solo contributor to the whole company,
Yeah.
because you're the CEO, you're also HR, you're also IT, you're also the person who gets the water, um,
Yeah.
and all you have to wear all the hats.
Yeah.
And so because of that, because we're kind of quickly learning how to do all these things, we put pressure on ourselves.
Yeah.
I gotta do more. I gotta learn more. Instead of just being more intentional, like you said, with time and
Mhm.
understanding what do I need to do right now? And let me
Yes.
focus on that.
Yeah.
Um, so it's so true. It kind of attaches to like the burnout, right? It's like
Yeah.
burnout happens in corporate. It also happens in entrepreneurship when you think, I gotta do and know everything today.
Yeah.
So you stay
Yeah.
up until 2 in the morning.
Exactly, and then,
Not
you're
that
trying to
I ever
control.
did that.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely been guilty. At the end of the day, we're trying to control some things, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah,
but, like I said, partnering with God is more about surrendering, and it's definitely
yeah,
something you have to continuously come back to, like, it's not something that I'm just always on top of, by no means. It's something I have to constantly, like, reevaluate, recheck, and it comes down to momentarily, not even every day is enough, like, it's just about being more consistent on that. And I think also today, we've gotten to this like we're very extreme in the way that we move. Like, unfortunately, there's too many people that are not proactive, they're more reactive. And so
yeah.
people are not looking to start the business until they've already burnt out and,
Mm,
don't want to go to work and have no mental capacity instead of, if you know right now today that you're comfortable and you have a good job, but this is not your calling, why don't you start working on it today towards it now? Why wait until dire needs and then you're putting all that energy onto what you're trying to build to again, that's coming with a lot of me energy. I got to make this happen. I need to pay my bills.
yeah,
It's instead of, starting, like I said, build something with what you're doing today. It doesn't have to be like this. It's not always like your full-time thing, that God is calling you to do, right? Everybody is different, but I believe that you can start today and you should. And you definitely shouldn't wait until, you're in a bad situation until then. It's never a good place to start. And I think we've gotten to like this kind of thing too, where everyone's like, burn down everything and start the business too, but it's not a good place to because it does take time, like you said, you have to learn, and
mm,
those things take time, and if you just walked away from your job, you
yeah.
may be putting a lot of pressure and stress on yourself, and you just, you're not ready.
Yeah, because abundance still comes with responsibility, right? And
Yeah.
stewarding things well. So it's not, like you said, just throw everything out and then, like, be stressed for the next however long while
Yeah.
you're trying to build, but, like you said, build now. You can start small. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, just
Mhm.
building the thing. And, as you were sharing too, is just, like, thinking about prayer, I learned recently, in Hebrew, the word is tefillah,
Mm.
and tefillah it actually means to judge yourself
Wow.
and come in agreement with the divine. So,
Yeah.
it's this idea of being self-aware
Mm.
and then, like, "Oh, why did I say that? Why did I do that?" Like you said, kind of you check yourself, But then you come into line with what God's showing you and what God said
Yeah.
and who he is and what he says, because that's what's true.
Hmm.
And I just really, kind of saw that when you were talking is like, pray like David, like you mentioned David. David was really good at that. He'd be like, bless the Lord, oh my, like he's telling his soul,
Yeah.
bless the Lord, because he knows, like, wait, I'm not in my right mind right now. I need to come back to God and what he said, and
Yes.
be aligned to that, because that's the true thing, not whatever I made up, whatever story I'm making up in my mind. But what God said is true.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so
love
yeah, I thought
that, and
that
I'm
was
so
good.
thankful that you taught me the meaning of that word. Like it's a
Mm,
war. Like whether you're in entrepreneurship or not, you are at war with yourself and with
yeah,
your spirit and your flesh. And that's you're right. You're gonna have those moments where you doubt yourself, where you don't feel adequate and stuff. And so, unfortunately, I feel like we've bought into this idea that we all have a truth, which is like it's kind of true, but at the end of the day, it's not about like her truth, my truth, his truth, your truth. It's the truth, right?
yeah,
That is what God says. And so, like, whenever you're feeling, any of those things, run back to the truth. It's not
yeah,
your truth because sometimes your truth might be lying to you, right?
yeah.
You've
It's true.
forgotten that you God has a covenant with your ancestors that he can't break, or literally he'll die. Like he even says that in the Bible. It's serious when you understand it. You're like, it gives you confidence. It gives you something conviction that a lot of us are missing. You need to go see that for yourself and be like, wow, like, yeah, this is actually promised to me. All I need to do is go up and get it. Like, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's already mine. God said, right? And
yeah,
he already said that I'm capable to do it no matter what. He even said, even if I'm weak, I can do it. So it's
yeah,
like, if that's like where we need to run to all the time, and, you know, also
yeah,
being of service, right? And it's hard as an entrepreneur to that's why I think it's also such a big spiritual journey, because it's hard not to focus on money when you got to make money on your own, right? It's
yeah,
how things go. It's not a steady thing. And so um getting your mind off that is a big thing too that we have to work on, right? And putting the service first and just giving, and knowing that God will give you the provisions in return. And, the more you give, the more capacity you will grow to give. Sometimes
yeah,
it's not right away. It's not like, you're giving, sometimes you give for a long time. And, but it says again in the Bible that God will give you more to be able to sustain and give more. So,
yeah, yeah. That's so good. It's so good. It's true. The more we get, like I said before, the responsibility that also comes with abundance,
yeah.
because like God will also tell you where to
Yep.
give, and
Mhm.
just I feel like this is like a theme of letting go and surrender,
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, it feels like almost to the responsibility is with God. We
yeah,
just need to listen, because He's
yep,
gonna guide us where we need to go. So
yeah.
even that's freedom,
It
that even
is.
that's freedom. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
really good.
because 'cause you're not stressed about things that you can't control.
Yeah,
Like, if you, can't control a lady that lives on the other side of town that works at, BCAA, then you know that, you're not worried about it. Like, you're like,
yeah,
"I can't. I have nothing to do with that." You
yeah,
know?
exactly. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
That's so good. Um, and so yeah, so I know that, when we were talking before, you were saying about, like, using our voice and
Mhm.
how, like, powerful that is when going back to fear and letting go and being bold, and doing what you feel called to do. Uh, like, why is that important to kind of empower people to use their voice? Um, in
Yeah.
this, especially now, it's super important. Like you said, women, we need to stand up for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely important because we our each of our voice has a unique story to share, each and every one. Like you, I don't care what you think. even if some other person you think has something similar, they don't have exactly what you have. Right. And so that's the number one thing. And being comfortable with who you are in order to say it like how you would say it, right? Like not trying to say it how the person that's already doing well says it, that's where you want to be, and
Yeah.
then changing who you are. It's about being kind of, I guess, going back to what we were saying, right? Like being confident in who you are and that you were preciously made here for a purpose and a reason, and maybe you don't know exactly everything yet, but you're going to be real and authentic about your journey, and you're going to use what you already got, and you're going to make a promise to yourself not to compare yourself to others and use what others are using, right? Because you're not giving yourself a chance to develop yourself. And I think, there's nothing wrong with, going 9 to 5. Everyone has their own path. But the one thing that I think is not the best with the how long we work and the output energy that we have is it takes you away from being creative. And in order to be creative, we all have a creative spirit. Like we were created to create by a creator.
Yeah.
You need space. And so if you are an entrepreneur or a business person or anyone, even if you want to grow in life, you need to give yourself some space to be creative and to allow God to come and give you thoughts, because he will give you ideas. He will give you thoughts.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know what to say, that's okay. Like you can literally ask the Holy Spirit to help you. Like, and it's not like some woo woo stuff. Like it's real talk.
Yeah.
Let go of your ego. That's the number one thing that keeps us, not doing the things that we are convicted to do, is our own ego. But, at the end of the day, if you're saying, you're doing this for God and this is like your journey, you have to check yourself and make sure, like, why am I nervous? What am I worried about? Because a lot of times we're just worried about what other people are going to think or how we're going to look. And, all of these things, which that's our own thing. We're not focused on what God has for us in our business, right? So we need to
Yeah.
check like our views and take it off yourself. Like doesn't matter how I look. I'm here to show up for something that God told me to do. If he told me to do it, even sometimes he's going to ask you to do some crazy stuff, you know? He
Yeah.
tells you to do it, you show up with your tools and you go, like, and you just, like you said, in your weakness, he is strong. So let him, and it's even kind of fun if you get used to doing it, because you'll
Yeah.
see that, wow, you'll be like, how did I pull that one off? You'll
Yeah.
know. And that's why God does that. He even says, like, I'm going to do that because you will know it wasn't from you. Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we work, I think today we choose to work too hard. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to work that hard. Go
Yeah.
back to the Bible. God even says he will do it for you. He will bless you in your sleep. Like there's so many verses that he says that you don't have to do everything on your own, right? Just get
Yeah.
good at being you and hearing whatever he has to say to you, right? The best version of you and not the you that, you've been told you were, even if your parents, your family, your friends, whoever,
Yeah.
that's not necessarily always who you are. Who in your heart you want to be, start making choices from there instead of
Yeah.
where you're at.
That's so good. My goodness. I feel like I was just watching myself or something like everything you said is so spot on, and I completely agree. I feel the same exact what you said, even verbatim, just things that like I've said recently. And it's so true. Like and I think that somewhere along the talking about creativity, I
Mhm.
think somewhere along the way, as you're getting older and as you're maturing, it's like you feel like, oh well, I can't play anymore. Like I'm an adult now, but
Yeah.
there's the creativity piece that we lose
Mhm.
that is, like, actually helping us to stay in that, like, childlike wonder and awe
Mhm.
and just, like like, wow, like appreciating and loving and not boxing ourselves in with
Yeah.
like we've been saying, like with whatever we were told. And I think we do in our minds have the voice of somebody who
Yeah.
said something to us at a very impressionable age, and we received that and we carried that in our heart, and
Mhm.
it's not the truth.
Yeah.
Um, when I was a kid, somebody asked my friend if I was mute
Oh.
because I was so shy,
Aw.
would never, like, talk around people or anything,
Yeah.
and it's so funny because I feel called to speak. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
it's like those little things that you don't even realize, or things that, people just say innocently even, not even malicious. Most people aren't malicious. I
Yeah.
think we think they are, but really most people aren't. They're not saying usually things intentionally to hurt or to make you feel a certain way, but it's just, you
Yeah.
know,
It just
there's
happens.
something said and it just happens, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
That's such a good point, like, that, you said that you, like, were really shy, but then you felt called to speak, like, it's like,
yeah,
usually your gift or your calling has to do something with probably tied to what you think is a weakness.
yeah,
Right, and that's the thing, we think it's like a weakness, and so we'll stick on to that and we won't use it, but it actually is an opportunity to be like your greatest strength, right? It's kinda like I always say like a superpower, on
yeah,
the movies when they don't know how to use the power yet, and so it's like destroying everything, but then they learn how to use the power.
yeah,
It's like that, right? And so, like, remembering that, just because that was like something a narrative before, that one thing is usually the very thing that you're called to do. Like, the enemy wants to try to take that from you from day one, right? So if
yeah,
you're called to speak, he might try to take your voice. If you're called to lead, he might take your spirit for a minute. Like there's so many different things, but I hear that like kind of commonly, and
well,
it's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Like we were saying before too, it's like this internal
Mhm.
battle. It's
Yeah.
like this is like the battlefields
Yeah.
because everything, it starts here and then it makes its way into
Yeah.
your heart. So that's why we're supposed to like cast out like false imaginations and thoughts and stuff like that, because it's like, don't receive that, because once you receive it, then that's what you walk in. You walk in whatever you're believing. So believe
Yes.
the truth, believe the truth, and then you'll walk in the truth.
Yes.
Uh,
Love.
yeah. So is there, well, I used to do something on Instagram, used to have a live every week. It was called Warrior Wednesday.
Oh, love that.
I don't do it anymore, but I wanna ask the question
Okay.
because I feel like, just based on what we've been talking about, I think it's, like, a good question. So, I used to ask the question, and I'll ask it to you right now.
Okay.
What does the word warrior, or what does being a warrior mean to you? How would you describe it?
Ooh. Well, I would say a warrior is someone that just doesn't have the mindset of giving up. Like,
Mm,
life is gonna take you, like, through twists and turns and all the things, but a warrior is someone that is gonna continue like, if they fall, they'll get back up, they'll dust themselves off, and ultimately, they'll keep, going, with the scars and, protecting people along the way.
yeah. Oh, that's good.
Saving
Oh,
as
that's
many people as you can, right? 'Cause
yeah,
not all of us may have that warrior spirit, and that's okay, but, there's a reason why some of us do, and I think it's to, like, protect others and help them too. Yeah.
yeah. That's really good. Oh, I like that. I like that. I
Yeah.
like hearing people's answers because it's never the same. It's always different.
Yeah, that is a really good question because 'cause I've never really thought about it, but I definitely think women are warriors for sure, we go through a lot of stuff, especially internally, always that we don't always see, and, we show up, especially for our family, for our kids, for our businesses, and, we keep going, put our little lip gloss on and smile.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you want to, just like any final thoughts that you wanna share before
Yeah.
we close it out?
I was just gonna say, one thing, because since we were talking about, being creative and having your own voice, and if we you have any listeners that are like wondering, like, how can I, get these ideas and how can I have more creative flow? What I would say to you is one, like, give yourself space, intentionally maybe start carving out some time, whether you work or not, where you can just go in nature, journal, listen to music, meditate, and give yourself an opportunity to get new ideas and also just be with God, right? And
Mm,
nature is a really great way to do that. And I think nature tells us a lot. And then I would say, secondly, be a student, like, always commit to
mm,
lifelong learning and every day try to learn something new, because when you fill your mind with ideas and other things, like, more ideas come. Like, for me, I never really liked reading. It was something that I struggled with for a long time, and I hate reading books. I never read a book till from front to end till I was an adult, like, in my 27, you know? But it's taught me so much.
same.
Now I love to read books, not because I actually enjoy the activity of reading, but it's what it gives me. I learn so much, and it makes my, even the way I communicate, more. You have just more flow when your brain is more focused when you read like 10 pages of a good book every day. And then of
Mm,
course, like, the Bible. So those are all like really good places that you can start like getting that creative flow going. Sometimes it's not gonna be right away, but, give yourself the opportunity to start, like, creating that flow, and notice when you do feel the most creative, like, what time is it, and what
mm,
is your environment like? So everyone's different. Sometimes it's
yeah.
smells, and sometimes it's sounds, and so, you know, learning about yourself and figuring out what's there for you.
Wow, that's good. Yeah, that's good. I love what you said too about the time because it's true. Like, even just certain times of day feel more like, let's say activated, like
Yeah.
creatively. Yeah, that's good. And like just taking some quiet time, which
Mhm.
I think we don't do enough to,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
we're kind of scared of what's in here when we actually stop for a moment to see what we're confronted with.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, exactly,
that
but it could be exactly, what you need to find.
is, yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
the
100%.
answers are in there, right?
Definitely, definitely.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Where
Yes.
can people like, do you have any like, or where can people first of all follow you? And it's your time to shine. Anything you want to like promote or talk about, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at The Unordinary Authority. I talk a lot about mindset, business, and some, just motherhood moments. I like to make people laugh. And you can always hit me up there. Also on LinkedIn, at Alishia Baker. And then my podcast, season 2 will be kicking off in the fall. It's called Holy Not Harmless. If you want to tune into that, you can catch up on season 1 and join us for season 2. And so that is, yeah, where you can find me for now.
Amazing, amazing. And I'll put all the links in the description, of course, so you're easily found so that everyone can follow you. Please support Alicia. It was such a great conversation. Thank you so much again for coming on. And I will just end this the same way I always ended, which is I hope that you all learn to live with heart, lead with purpose, and do both compromise free. Until next time,
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.